Was an ordinary person living a very simple life. Every day looked the same to me. I woke up early in the morning, prepared my breakfast, and went to work. My job was not exciting, but it paid my bills. I worked in a small office where I sat at a desk all day and did routine tasks. I did not hate my job, but I did not love it either. Life felt safe, quiet, and predictable. I lived alone in a small apartment near my workplace. The rooms were clean but empty. In the evenings, I usually watched television or scrolled on my phone. Sometimes I felt lonely, but I told myself that this was normal. Many people live like this, I thought. There was nothing special about my life, and I believed nothing special would ever happen. One morning, I woke up feeling tired and unhappy. I did not know why. The sky was gray, and the air felt heavy. I slowly got ready for work and left my apartment. As I walked toward the bus stop, I noticed an old man standing near the road. He was holding a small box in his hands. He looked weak and tired, and his clothes were old and worn. Normally, I would have walked past him. I was always in a hurry, always thinking about my own problems. But that morning, something inside me stopped me. I do not know why, but I slowed down. The old man looked at me and smiled gently. His smile was warm, even though his face showed many years of hardship. He asked me if I could help him cross the road. The traffic was busy, and cars were moving fast. I looked at my watch. I was already running late for work. For a moment, I wanted to say no. But then I remembered how empty my life felt. Helping him would only take a few minutes. I agreed and held his arm carefully. We crossed the road slowly. He thanked me again and again. His voice was soft, but his words were full of gratitude. After we reached the other side, he opened his small box. Inside were handmade bracelets. He said he made them himself and sold them to survive. I felt something strange in my heart. Without thinking too much, I bought one bracelet. It was simple, made of blue and white threads. The old man smiled even more brightly and blessed me. I waved goodbye and continued toward the bus stop. That day at work, I could not stop thinking about the old man. My tasks felt meaningless, and my mind kept returning to that short moment on the road. I kept looking at the bracelet on my wrist. It reminded me that even small actions could matter to someone. After work, instead of going straight home, I decided to walk around the city. This was unusual for me. I usually follow the same routine every day. As I walked, I noticed things I had ignored before. Children were playing in the park. Street vendors were laughing and talking. The city felt alive, and for the first time in a long while, I felt connected to it. The next day, I saw the old man again near the same road. This time, I greeted him first. We talked for a few minutes. He told me about his life. He had once owned a small shop, but after his wife passed away, everything changed. He lost his business and had no family to support him. Still, he believed in kindness and honesty. Our short conversations became a daily habit. Every morning, I stopped to talk to him, even if only for a few minutes. Slowly, my mornings started to feel brighter. I felt a sense of purpose that I had never felt before. One day, I brought him some food and water. He was surprised and very thankful. He told me that many people ignored him, but my kindness gave him hope. Hearing this made me realize something important. I had spent years thinking that my life had no meaning, but meaning was always there. I just needed to create it. Inspired by these moments, I began to change small things in my life. I started waking up earlier to enjoy the quiet morning. I read books instead of wasting time on my phone. I smiled more and talked to people instead of avoiding them. These changes were small, but together they made a big difference. After a few weeks, something unexpected happened. My manager noticed my positive attitude and dedication at work. He offered me a new role with more responsibility. I was surprised, but I accepted the offer. I realized that when I changed my mindset, opportunities started to appear. One morning, I went to the road to see the old man, but he was not there. I waited for a long time, but he did not come. I felt worried. The next day, he was still absent. I missed our conversations deeply. A week later, I finally saw him again. He looked healthier and happier. He told me that a kind woman had helped him get a small place in a community center where he could sell his bracelets safely. He thanked me for encouraging him and believing in him. As we said goodbye that day, I felt emotional. That small decision to stop and help a stranger had changed both of our lives. I learned that life does not change with big events alone. Sometimes, all it takes is a small decision made with a kind heart. Now, when I look at the bracelet on my wrist, I remember that morning. It reminds me that even the smallest act of kindness can open the door to a new beginning. The rain started early that morning. Soft drops fell from the sky and touched the empty streets. The city looked quiet and slow, as if it was still asleep. I stood near my window and watched the rain for a long time. My heart felt heavy, but I did not know the reason. That day felt different, even before it truly began. I lived in a small rented room in a busy area of the city. The walls were thin, and the sounds of traffic never fully stopped. I had moved there after leaving my hometown to find work. Life in the city was not easy, but I believed it would get better one day. Still, many mornings felt lonely and uncertain. I put on my jacket, took my bag, and stepped outside. The rain was gentle but steady. People walked quickly, trying to avoid getting wet. Some held umbrellas, while others covered their heads with bags or scarves. Everyone looked busy, focused on their own lives. As I walked toward the bus stop, I noticed a young woman standing under a broken streetlight. She looked confused and worried. She held a small piece of paper in her hand and kept looking around. Normally, I would have ignored her and continued walking. I was shy and did not like talking to strangers. But something inside me told me to stop. I asked her if she needed help. She looked surprised at first, then relieved. She told me she was new to the city and was trying to find a hospital. Her father had been admitted there early that morning. She had the address, but she did not know which bus to take. I knew the hospital she was talking about. It was not very far, but the route was confusing for someone new. I told her I could help her get there. She hesitated for a moment, then agreed. We walked together in the rain and waited for the bus. On the bus, we talked quietly. She told me about her life. She had traveled overnight from a small town after receiving an urgent call. She looked tired and scared, but she tried to stay strong. I listened carefully and felt her pain. For the first time in a long while, I forgot about my own problems. When we reached the hospital, she thanked me many times. Her eyes were full of tears, but she smiled. I wished her strength and watched her disappear inside the building. As I turned to leave, I felt something warm in my chest. Helping her made my morning feel lighter. Instead of going straight to work, I decided to sit in a nearby cafe. The rain was still falling, and the smell of coffee filled the air. I sat by the window and thought about what had just happened. It felt like the rain had washed something away inside me. At work, the day passed quietly. I completed my tasks, but my mind kept returning to that morning. I realized how one small moment of kindness could connect two strangers. Life did not feel so lonely anymore. The next few days were still rainy. Every morning, the city looked fresh and calm. I started to enjoy walking in the rain. It gave me time to think and observe people. I noticed how everyone carried their own worries, just like me. One evening, as I was returning home, I saw the same young woman near the hospital gate. She recognized me and smiled. She told me her father was recovering and would be fine. I felt genuinely happy for her. She thanked me again and said she would never forget my help on that rainy morning. We talked for a few minutes before saying goodbye. As I walked away, I realized that my life felt a little fuller. I was no longer just moving through days without feeling. I was becoming part of small stories around me. Inspired by this change, I began to be more open to people. I talked to my neighbors. I helped an old woman carry her groceries. I smiled at strangers instead of looking down. These small actions slowly changed how I felt about myself. One morning, the rain finally stopped. The sky was clear and blue. The city looked bright and alive. I felt hopeful as I walked to work. I understood that new beginnings do not always come with big celebrations. Sometimes, they come quietly, like rain. Months passed, and my life continued to improve in small ways. I became more confident at work and made a few friends. The loneliness that once followed me everywhere started to fade. I learned that courage does not always mean doing something big. Sometimes, it means simply stopping and helping someone. That rainy morning remains special to me. It was the moment I chose connection over silence. It was the moment I realized that kindness can change not only others, but also ourselves. Now, whenever it rains, I smile. I remember that day and the lesson it gave me. Every new beginning starts with a simple step, taken at the right moment.